So, are you on a hell wheel to nowhere, looping thoughts, doing the same thing? And the reason why I bring this up is because um, as I'm posting things on Facebook, I've started going on Facebook again recently. So, I used to post on Facebook a long time ago, but I stopped. And then I went back onto it recently in the last few months. And what I've noticed as I've going back on to post my message around my mission, which is to bring heaven back to earth, is that many people on there are still posting the same message that they've been posting since 2020, so since the pandemic started and all that bullshit ensued. And whilst many of us did wake up at that time, me included, I really knew something was afoot then, and then I started to see the evidence of it. But at that time, a real division was created between humanity, and that division was there to keep us fighting against each other. You know, that is what they use: divide and conquer, whether it's race, sex, different groups, religions, you name it, right? You know, it's even like a competition of who's oppressed the most, right? You know, because I was recently doing a program and I was saying that, you know, we think that the feminine, the divine feminine, is being oppressed, and yes, the divine feminine has been oppressed, but so has the divine masculine. Both sexes have been oppressed in this system. This system is there to abuse us and oppress us, right, as humanity, to keep us down. But it becomes almost like a competition, like, but women are more oppressed, or but no, and if we sit back and look at that and think, wow, that's insane, right? And that is what they want to have us doing. They want us to be fighting amongst ourselves, saying, well, I'm a woman, so I'm more oppressed than you, or I'm black, so I'm more oppressed than you, or I'm gay, so I'm more oppressed than you. All these different ways that they want us to basically sit there and have a competition on who is more oppressed, right? So we can look back and think that that is insane, right? And we can realize that we are all oppressed in this system. And then we can start to realize that actually it's up to us individually to take back our power, because we are powerful beings. We have just been programmed to believe that we are not, and to keep us fighting against each other. But that's not actually the reason. The reason why I am making this video is because as I've been posting onto Facebook, just getting my message out there about my mission, I noticed that there's loads of posts on there, and they're the same posts that were being posted back in 2020. So back when this division was created between the vaccinated, the unvaccinated, you know, this kind of thing that was going on between the ones that were awake and the ones that were asleep. It's the same. People are saying the same things, just blaming those people that perhaps didn't wake up at the time or wasn't awake, just blaming them for the situation that is happening, for the world that we live in. And it's the same message, right, that has been saying since 2020, 21, 22, 23. So what, 4 years? Should have been able to do it in my head. I was an accountant. So it just made me reflect to think, wow, this is how disempowered people are. And they don't realize that while you think, so they think that they're awake, right? Well, I'm awake, think I'm awake and you're asleep, so it's your fault because you're asleep. But obviously you're still asleep if you've still got that mindset, and you're still blaming other people, because at the end of the day, there is such a bigger picture, right? That what happened in 2020, if people weren't asleep at that time, well, then it wouldn't have allowed us to have that contrast and actually create the awakening that it created. It created a great awakening by certain people being asleep. And also, when it comes to what happened then, nobody knows what each individual has been through. Nobody knows the subconscious programming, the abuse, all the stuff that has been programmed into people's minds and heads to make them act in certain ways when certain triggers are enacted, like that trigger of that pandemic that happened. So if we just sit flinging mud at each other, well, we're basically projecting everything onto someone else and saying, I am powerless, I have no power to change my life, to change my environment, and it's up to someone else to do it, and it's someone else's fault, you know. So I was just noticing how these messages are just the same message, and how people are really stuck in a loop. They're stuck in a loop of all these beliefs and behaviors, and they're on a hell wheel to nowhere. Because if you continue to just post these messages, well, one, it's like dehumanizing people. It's like, we've been programmed to dehumanize people, to see people as not being human beings. So we think we can just say what we want to them, that we can shame them, that we can guilt them. And it is those kind of things that we do is when we're in our distorted energy. So I'm not judging the people that are doing this right. Back in 2020, I'm sure I did a few posts where I was like, it's your fault you're asleep, because I was in fear. I was in fear, and fear can make us act in ways that is not really in alignment with who we are as humans. But I soon started to realize, because I've always taken responsibility for myself, I thought, well, I can't be blaming other people for how I feel and for what's going on. I am part of this as well. And I started to go inwards and go deeper, started to connect to source in a way that I'd never connected to, and started to open up a new picture and realize the bigger picture and stop blaming other people for what was ensuring. I started to realize there was a dark force that was at play that had been abusing people for a long time and knew how to trigger people into certain actions and behaviors. Really was plugging into people's trauma, right? Because what does trauma do? Well, trauma creates more trauma. So what they were doing is, through psychological warfare, plugging into people's fears, insecurities, vulnerabilities, trauma, to create that split and division. And I realised that you're just wasting your energy and actually not changing anything, and not actually helping humanity to move into freedom and liberation by continuing to just blame somebody else for how you feel and for the world around us. So we have to actually take responsibility for ourselves and realize that we are powerful beings. And as we step out of needing to blame and shame and guilt other people, we can actually, then we have that power and that energy for ourselves to change our lives. We start to realize that we are co-creators of our reality, and how we are interacting, what we are saying, what we are posting, well, it does matter. So again, we've been kind of programmed to kind of think that one, we're not important, we don't matter, so we're not necessarily are that thoughtful potentially about what we are saying about other people. But when we are judging other people, when we are guilting and shaming other people, then not only are we in a low vibrational state and we're bringing down our own energy, but we are entangling ourselves in cause and effect as well. So we are ensuring that negative shame and guilt that we are putting out is going to come back to us in some way. We might not be able to link it to those posts that we are doing, but in some way it's going to come back and impact our life, because we are not separate from each other. We are all connected. And also, you might start to wake up and realize that some of those people that were asleep during the time, that actually they did that so that we could wake up, right? So that was the agreement. Well, you stay asleep and I have the contrast and I can see it clearly, and it can create that fire within us, so we can use that fire, use that emotion to channel it into changing the creation that we see, because it's up to us individually to, we have to understand that we individually create our lives and that we're not helpless. And a lot of that helplessness comes through a lot of trauma and wounds that we need to heal. That's what I do with my clients, help them to heal that trauma and those wounds so they start to take back their power. But we have the power to change our lives. But we collectively change the collective reality as well. So if we, instead of using our energy, like I say, you're in a loop, if you're still posting stuff, and you probably aren't, in fairness, if you're watching this video, because of the level that you're resonating on. And like I say, it's not to judge those people at all. It's actually have compassion for those people, because they're stuck in a loop on a hell wheel to nowhere. And that continued cycle is really just when people don't know how to take responsibility for their own lives, are in fearful because they've got wounds to heal as well. So like I say, it's not a judgment, it's just this acknowledgement. When I saw it and I thought, wow, it's like, the same. I just think, God, it must be so draining, right? Your energy must be so drained and depleted by that projection onto others all the time about that blame, that shame, that guilt, rather than using that energy to actually channel it into a way that, if you feel that way about what's going on, then like I do feel that way, I look around and I say, this is not good enough. What is happening in this world, all the wars, all the horror, all the trauma, all the disease, all of this stuff which is massively orchestrated, it's not okay. It's not okay. And and I've used that to go deep within to find my mission, to realize that I have a part to play in this. Everybody has got a part to play in this, and we are moving into a new epoch. And this new epoch is about bringing heaven back to earth. It's about bringing back that consciousness that we are not separate from each other, that we are all connected, we are all this one organism. And as we start to wake up to that, we realize if we're guilting and shaming someone else, well, really, we're harming ourselves by doing that anyway. And that actually we all have a part to play. As we heal, we start to connect back to our mission, back to our, as I've done my healing, this reconnection journey that I take people on, that has led me into my mission, where I've realized my mission is to help do that. And the way that I do that is to help people to heal all of the corruption in the body that has them feeling shame, guilt, not good enough, that blocks them from connecting to their true path. But we all have that power then to take that divine energy and then to channel it into changing the creation. If we don't like what we see, right, well, we have to change it. We have a responsibility to change it. We have a duty to change it. And we do that first by healing the self, so that we're no longer projecting everything out onto other people, which, like I say, is not helping to change the architecture of what we see. So we can use that anger, because, oh my God, when we wake up and we realize, I understand people are angry, right? People are angry, they're angry, and I get it, because when we wake up and we realize what has been done onto us through manipulation, through these agendas that have been filtering down from the elite, into all these systems that we thought were there to help us, right? When we realize that, well, it makes you angry. I was raging in 2020 when I found this out, but I've learned how to take that rage and channel it into fire, into passion, into this desire to know that we can change this reality, into a desire to find new creative ways in order to do that, in order to help humanity wake up and realize that these dark forces, well, they are no match for the light. So as we connect back to our light, rather than throwing our shadows onto each other, blaming each other, pulling down human, the truth is 99% of humans are goodness. And even humans that are goodness do bad things, right? They do things that are not good, that are not that do not serve their highest interest or others, but it's because they have been abused and programmed and are in trauma. And many people don't even realize that they're in trauma. You should watch my video on trauma, which I will link, because most people don't even realize that they've got trauma, but we've all got trauma born into this reality. But as we start to heal that inside of us, like I say, we start to connect to source, to that light, well, we start to find our part to play. If you are here and you are watching this video, you have got an important part to play in the rehabilitation of this planet, in the anchoring of heaven back into earth, of seeding light back into our creations. And it starts with us by actually having respect for each other as humans, because again, we've been programmed to, all this stuff that we see on TV, all the media that just ridicules people, humiliates people, witch hunts people, lies about people, creates deception about people, creates all these illusions, so that we fight against each other. So we say, well, it's immigrants' fault. It's immigrants' fault. They're taking all of our resources. Or it's white privilege. Those people that are white, they are privileged. It is bullshit. It's all bullshit, and it's all there to keep us fighting against each other. But we can start to not play in those games. We can start to move away from those dramas, and we can channel that energy instead into creating a life that we want to live, into creating a planet that we want to be a part of. So I just wanted to make that little video just to really bring it into awareness, because it really came into my awareness. And actually, for us all, right, probably about 6 months ago, I said to myself, when I was sat down and I was thinking about how I was going to communicate my message, my mission, And I said to myself, well, it's gotta, when I'm communicating, it's gotta meet this certain criteria. It's gotta be a message that is inspiring. It's gotta be a message that is motivational. It's gotta be a message that is in truth, that is in integrity, that I'm speaking from the heart space. I'm speaking from a place of vulnerability, a place of truth, a place of honesty, and a place of, of actually empowerment, of creating a message of empowerment and unity between people. And if it doesn't meet those criteria, then I'm not going to post it, because it's not, because it's coming from my ego and not from my heart space. So we can all start to hold ourselves to higher standards. In fact, we have to do that, right? If we genuinely want to live in a world of harmony, of love, of respect, of growth, a world where all humans matter, where we start to give reverence to life and to creation, realize that everything is holy and everything is sacred, because we've been taught the opposite. That's an inversion. It's not true. We wouldn't speak to each other the way we have spoken to each other. We wouldn't interact with each other the way we've interacted with each other at times that we have, if we held those things true within our templates. And it's often through fear that we act in those ways as well. But we have to start holding ourselves if we want to be part of this mission of bringing heaven back to earth, of creating real change on the planet. Then we have to hold ourselves to higher standards. We have to start asking ourselves, what is our intentions? What is our motivations behind our communication, behind what we are speaking, whether it's the written word or the spoken word? Is it going to add into the fabric of my life and creation, and upliftment? Now, that doesn't mean say we can't talk about anything dark or negative. So that's not what I mean, because we have to talk about the darkness. We have to talk about these negative things, but we don't have to do it in a way of projecting blame and shame onto the majority of humans that are really just acting in ways that they've been programmed to act in. Now, it doesn't mean as well that we have to participate or be involved with people that are stuck in the illusion. We can have love, respect, and honor for them without being in their energy, right? We can take our energy away from people like that. I've realized that the more that I have healed, the more that I have connected to light, to truth, to source, and the more that I've opened up my throat chakra, and I can now express the way that I'm feeling without fear of being judged, humiliated, all these persecuted, all these different wounds from past lives that I've been healing. So I can speak freely now. I can speak in my integrity. I can stand with I want to say the full armor of God. I've heard people say that before, and I didn't understand that, but I understand it now. I'm so connected to source that I feel so protected by my own light. And I know that that light triggers darkness in other people. And I know that when we move into our light, we can have other people that start to negatively talk about us, to basically create rumors about us, lies about us, just talk about us in a negative way. And those are like casting spells, right? When we gossip about people, when we talk about people in a derogatory, degrading way, like they are not human beings, then we are casting negative spells. And we should know that. I know this from being in the light. The light protects you from that, because when we do that, it actually is going to go back to that person, right? And now I don't say that with glee, because I just know that is just a fact of a universal law, the law of cause and effect, that it's going to go back to that person in certain ways, and it's going to be amplified back to that person. And why does it do that? It's because source loves us. It's because the universe loves us. It's because the universe is, as any parent would do with a child, wants the child to learn how to be a conscious creator. Source is, we are here free. We are here free to create, to co-create with source. And as we do that, we make our choices. And if we make that choice from a place of consciousness, from a place of light, then we're going to create some amazing things for our life and in the planet. And that's going to come back to us, because we create that ripple. But if we are creating from a place of darkness, from a place of fear, from a place of deception and a place of malice, or a place of these darker emotions, then we're going to create that in our life so that we can see it, and start to heal it. So it's from a place of love that it comes back to us. So we can think about that as well when we're communicating with other people. What are we saying? What's our intent behind what we're saying? And as long as that intent is from a place of purity, from a place of light, wisdom, and knowledge, then that is going to grow back in our lives as well.